All right. Nick Becker, Chief Executive of Auckland FC. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome. Yeah, mate.
Sorry, mate. Sorry to. We'll have to start this again. There's a weird fuzzy ticket. Oh, no, it's just stopped. Okay. Did you get that? Did you hear
Audio
a weird...
Pics?
It was audio. It was just a weird fuzzy ticking. But to be honest, mate, it's stopped, so we're fine. We're all good. Sorry.
No.
From the top, Dale.
All right. Oh. I'll do my little sassy little intro again, if that works for you. All right. Okay. All right. Nick Becker, Chief Exec of Auckland FC. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you going?
Dale, good to be on, and thank you very much for having me. Oh, and you've just frozen.
That's great. It's by the looks of things. Oh, are we freezing out?
You've frozen.
Is this going to happen today or not?
Right. This is weird, eh? What's
You're
going
right.
on?
You've stayed still.
Have I? Is it?
I did a test on this my end, and it seemed to be okay earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay at my end. Should we? Hold on. I have got a weird... Sorry for this weird kind of...
You're all right. I'm keen to get it right.
Why don't we... I'll tell you what. Why don't I just dial out and dial back in? Because there is something funny going on here.
Give it a go.
Often the old IT, switch it off, switch it back on, sometimes works a dream.
Yeah, give it a go.
Stand by, my friend.
Cool, man. All right.
Dale, can you hear me all right?
It already feels better, Nick, to me.
Great.
I mean, I'm ever the optimist, but it does feel a bit better.
Well, just so you don't waste your time, this is at 2 minutes 30 on your recording, so you can fast forward straight to it. Do you want to start from the top, or do you want to just have it? Was that intro good enough for you?
I'll just pick it up. I'll be real quick. All right, here we go. Nick Becker, Chief Exec of Auckland Football Club. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you going?
Hi, Dale. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on.
That's good. Hey, look, we've got lots to get through, but I'm really interested in your backstory and your point to getting to here. You've obviously been the chief exec of this new football club. Everyone in the city and the country has been really excited by it. How did you end up the chief executive of Auckland Football Club? Can you summarize for us?
Yeah, great question. It's a. I'll give you the short version, the abridged version, Dale. But basically, I left New Zealand about 20 years ago, and it was 2003. I went over to the UK. I was born in London, so I had a British passport, but grew up here in Auckland. And it was around about 2006. I started working with a telco brand called O2. And they were shirt sponsors of Arsenal and had a long tradition of sponsoring sport. They did England rugby as well. And I worked in their brand team, looking after sports sponsorship effectively was where I ended up. And the role that I had there was working on the Arsenal account. So that was really my first sort of proper job in football. Obviously, been a fan my whole life and followed it, and especially followed it when I moved to London, because the one thing you find out as a Kiwi going to the UK is if you don't really have any football chat in the pub, no one really talks to you. So kind of really got into it properly around the time I arrived in London, and then working with Arsenal, who were a fantastic club. I was obviously on the sponsor side, and we did some great activations together. I really learned, that was my foundation of learning around kind of the fan experience piece and kind of how actually when you look at a football club, for me, the two most important people in the club are the fans and the players. That's what the whole piece is built around. If there's no players playing, there's no fans watching. If there's no fans in the stands, there's no broadcast, there's no sponsors who are there, there's no there's nothing happening. So that kind of really taught me that you actually put the fans in the heart of your kind of match day experience and how you think about and how you grow a club. From that experience with Arsenal in 2002, I then actually got tapped on the shoulders to move up to Manchester and to work for Man City. It was about 2, possibly 3 years after they had their takeover from Abu Dhabi and went from probably a sort of a definitely in the shadow of the other side of Manchester into kind of like being a serious player in the Premier League. So I joined them in 2011 and 12, which was for those who will remember the first time they won the league in 44 years, and the very famous Aguero. So it was
Aguero, not Tevez. I get those two confused. Yeah. Aguero, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Tevez came over. I think it was 12-13 or 13. It was 12-13. He came from United to City, but Aguero scored the winner. There was a final. United thought they won the league. The City was meant to, but they kind of looked like they fluffed their lines against QPR. Aguero, it was funny enough. It was a in some ways magical, in some ways frustrating player called Mario Balotelli, who fell on his ass and toe poked an assist through to Sergio Aguero, who scored the winner in what was quite an amazing finish to the season. So that was my first season there. And I stayed 5 great years in Manchester, just really enjoyed it, really learned a lot around fan experience, kind of did a lot around the sort of stadium experience and really worked on that kind of more marketing and commercial side of the business. And
did it get easier with City as they got better, though, to market the club?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's sort of say what you will, and there's many. It's football, so there's many lovers and there's many haters about every team in the land. But and some will argue City has a few more than others, disproportionately more than others. But the time spent there was amazing. Like the kind of the resource that was available, the support that they got, the kind of growth of a club on a global stage. It went from kind of literally a team club that yo-yoed between the divisions to being a real powerhouse in first the Premier League and then European football was a remarkable thing to watch from afar, and to be part of it was incredible. Learned a lot along the way. Learned a lot through just absorbing it through some very talented people around me. Personally, did a lot in my own career and also learned a lot from some mistakes that I made. So it was a great place to be, and the timing. I feel very privileged and very lucky to be a part of that. And we did some. The whole. I looked after pre-season tours, the stuff that we did in Europe around the Champions League, and then that whole match day and fan experience at the Etihad as well, and worked across our commercial partnerships team, worked around actually selling assets at the stadium, and then I got the opportunity. So when I joined, it was just Manchester City, and then sort of the kind of business of City Football Group grew while I was there, and I was very lucky to get the chance to firstly help launch New York City into the MLS, and then CFG purchased Melbourne Heart, and about a year after they bought Melbourne Heart, I moved down to Melbourne to help run Melbourne City, and that was in around bit of a senile moment here, but I think 2016, if not a little bit earlier. And I came down to Melbourne. It must have been 2015. I went down there originally with City to go on tour, and we played in something called the ICC tournament, and then we had a game against Real Madrid in the MCG, and 100,000 people turned up to watch it. And I thought, is this what football's like in Australia? and sort of jumped on that plane and came down to help run Melbourne City. And it was, to be honest, a little bit different than 100,000 people at the MCG, but still an amazing experience in Melbourne, and had a great time there. We sort of helped grow that club from where it'd been with Melbourne Heart to kind of part of the City Football Group, and we brought in players like Tim Cahill and I think the football department and the whole football way they played football changed massively while I was there, and I was lucky to be part of a smaller executive team and really see how a whole club runs. So that kind of leads me to your original question of, I guess I gained some really good experience at Man City and sort of a really high elite professional global game, and then when I came to Melbourne, it was more around actually running a club and every little part of that, and especially in the ALeague, obviously. It's not the biggest league in the world. It's a great league, in my opinion. But you have to be really careful with how you spend your money. Having a salary cap league makes it a completely different kettle of fish. So, learned all of these things at my time in Melbourne, and then the opportunity arose to be part of the new Auckland team, and I sort of jumped at it when I had I had the chance. Yeah.
You would have done it, but this would have been quite a different challenge. I mean, you're talking Arsenal, Manchester City, huge fan bases, huge history. Even in Melbourne, sports crowds can be more devoted than a typical New Zealand sports crowd. How did you feel coming into this challenge to get Aucklanders into football? Can you cast your mind back for day one? What did you feel?
I think for me, the opportunity was massive to come back to the city that I'd grown up as a child, and my formative years, and to be able to run a professional football club. So it's a huge opportunity, and I'm incredibly privileged to be able to do it. I think in terms of, did I think it would be a success? I was quietly confident. We did our sort of research, and we had a really good look at the market before committing to the license 100%. And if you look at how football's grown in Auckland, I guess in the time between the last professional football club and where we are today, the game has just exploded. You've got 73 clubs across the northern region, over 40,000 young boys and girls playing the game, and that number's growing double digits year on year. And even on the girls' side, it's up 25% year on year. So these are incredible numbers, and don't show any sign of slowing down. There's over 100,000 people playing a form of football in Auckland alone, and then you add on to that sort of the real kind of how multicultural Auckland is, how there are actually just small communities who are playing football without any other connection to the sort of official channels of club football. So there's probably, you'd have to guess what that is, but I know there's like sort of some communities like the Fijian Indians have got 50 teams that play in a tournament twice a year, and so there's this sort of like real beautiful mix of the 1.5 million people. Football's growing at a speed that it's never done before in this city. You've got a really kind of multicultural city where football's a sort of connecting.
With a hunger, there's a population with a hunger for this. I feel we talked about it a lot. Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, and I think what's the most exciting? There's two really exciting bits. There's actually the port and you guys, and that kind of like that's grown organically. You've done it all yourselves, and there's this real passion and bring the color and the noise and the atmosphere, which is amazing. And then at the other end, you've got this like, it's fantastic because you see these families and these kids, and they're experiencing, like, you think back to your first life sports event, and those are memories that stay with you for the rest of your life. And that's what creates generational support. That's actually how you build it. They come along and they see, like they have a great time at the north end where there's a big slide and all that sort of stuff. But they see the noise, color, and energy that comes out of the south stand. And then there's this team that are performing really well on the pitch, and that they get to meet them after the game. The players stay out there for an hour signing things, and those things are magical for a child when they're growing up. And what I love is not only the number of kids that are at the games, but the fact that it's a real kind of like balance between boys and girls as well. So it's not just like a bunch of young boys going mad. It's like you see loads of young girls who are just as passionate, just as excited as anyone else there, and that's the bit that I love.
Has it been a bit of a marketing dream to start? Because, like you say, you had the great stuff for the families. It's summertime here. People are into it. The port has kind of really taken off. Could it have gone any better in your mind? You guys must be pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had suggested this is where we'd be before the season started, I would have snapped your hand off, right? Like it's gone. It's sort of exceeded expectations without a doubt, which I keep telling Bill how great things are going, and you need to make hay while the sun shines. But we're blown away. We're so happy with the start, but I think the bit that we said right at the start is we want to embed ourselves into the community and be a part of Auckland, and be a team and a club that makes Aucklanders proud. And I think in return, if we achieve that, in return, we kind of hope for the support of all of Auckland, and I think we've kind of achieved that. And then that's kind of one of the off the pitch, definitely one of the proudest moments. Like to be able to actually be in any part of Auckland, north, south, east, west, and see people wearing our merchandise, and kind of people talking, overhearing conversations about our games, and kind of the positivity that I receive when I talk to people, just sort of people on the street, or like you sort of Uber driver, the media, whoever it may be, everybody in Auckland, they're generally behind us, and they're really proud of the team, and they're really excited about what's happening. So I think, to that point of, did we think it would be successful? Yeah, we knew the audience was there. We knew people were passionate about football. We knew the game was really growing. I think what's blowing us away is actually how much they've got on board, and how engaged the city is, and it's really exciting to see.
Tell us about that first game against Brisbane Roar and the slide. I understand you were one of the first to give it a go, Nick.
Yeah, there's a video recording of that somewhere, which I'm being held hostage to. But the slide's brilliant, and I think the slide epitomizes what we're trying to do at that end, is actually make it just fun for the whole family, for the whole game, right? Like, and you look at the queue of kids throughout the whole game queuing up to go on that slide, which I think is really cool. The first match for me, I'll tell you a story. Was it kind of like, I think it sums up pretty much how I felt about it. When you work so hard on something and you've spent kind of months, and it was a really short amount of time, if you reflect back, and I've just had a few days off to be able to do this, is what we achieved in 2024 is quite a lot, and it was a full-on year, and to kind of actually, you sort of, we had a countdown clock of the number of days remaining till the first match, and you have these plans, and everything is kind of conceptual, and until it's a reality. And that day it actually became a reality, and I was having a little moment to myself, and I was walking around the ground, I was seeing all the things that were happening, and I was kind of like, I had a little, like, so to be honest, I had a little tear in my eye. I was like, it was quite overwhelming, and the gates had just opened, and I ran into to good friends of mine, Callie and B and their sons, and I was like barely able to string a sentence together because I thought I was going to break down in full tears, because it was such an emotional moment for me for it to actually come to life, and such an exciting time, and for the fact that it was also like, the weather had been dreadful leading up to it. Suddenly the sun shone. Like, it was like a kind of like this really weird sort of, I'm not going to get all spiritual on you, but it was like a real sort of, wow, even the weather's turned out and supporting us today. And to have that many Aucklanders in the house for our first game, I'd kind of, in the weeks leading up to, I'd sort of managed the expectations of, we would be happy if we got to 12, maybe 15,000, but to sell it out was super, super, super exciting, and something that I'll always be really proud of.
Yeah, and you should be. And it's what's really interesting is, and we're running this podcast, we're talking to lots of different people. I'm from England, so I've experienced going to big football matches and being part of a football fan base. But I think what we forget is, for many, what you're providing is the first taste of something like this. Even Robbie Feldman, who's one of our pundits, works over in Channel 10, to support his own hometown against Wellington at the derby, he said was just a magical experience. And you're giving people this kind of first experience. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think that's like the Wellington rivalry and the sort of a kind of a derby straight away in your first season. that can't be underestimated. That has really sort of, I think Auckland was ready for it, obviously, but I think New Zealand sport was, in some ways, like you sort of like the broadcast numbers we got for it reflect this, the media attention, the kind of like this real sort of like, for the majority of it, very kind of creative, funny banter. That kind of it brought out in football fans, but also just sports fans in general. It was really cool. I loved it, and I think it's sort of to go down. Wellington pushed hard, and we were very comfortable with this. But Wellington pushed hard to have the first derby at home, and as what round 3 wasn't it? And to be a team playing only our 3rd ever game professionally, and to go down and take the chocolates was a pretty good feeling too.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. Like even it brought some of the the celebs of New Zealand out, the likes of Paddy Gower, wading in was kind of cool. And I do have a question from Paddy. So the port, was it created by the marketing team at Auckland FC?
Not at all. It was actually. I mean, Paddy and I, Paddy and I have had a few conversations on radio, on air and off air about this, but no, it wasn't. It was actually a guy, and he a guy called Stefan, who is a passionate football. Dale, do you know Stefan? Is it? Yeah, you know Stefan. So Stefan, I think he shouldn't be forgotten in this sort of journey, because he was very influential at the start in galvanizing a group of people who were passionate about football and wanted to be part of this club. And I think for us, the only thing the marketing team did was, engage with them and embrace them and actually sit down and talk to them and listen to say, look, we want to support you guys and tell us how we can do it. But it's, the thing that I love about the Port is they have, you've wanted to be independent, and you've wanted to be able to hold the club to account, but also to grow it organically. And I think that, if the marketing department had done it, you'd have half the noise, half the colour, and half the fun. The beauty of it all is it's just been done by fans. And as that, it, Dale, from the UK, it's like things that happen on the terrace and get created on the terrace are just wonderful. It's a really beautiful side of humanity for the majority of it. And you see and hear funny things that you kind of just laugh along with, cherish, and talk about like for weeks to come. And yeah, I think what the Port's done in such a tiny amount of time it's equal to what we've achieved in actually getting a team up for them to support.
Yeah, and the attendance is overall, you'd be absolutely delighted. Do you feel that we can? It's a hard question, but carry on at this level, because we are somewhat above the other Aussie teams at the moment in terms of the amount of people going to the games.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I think there's a first season bounce without a doubt, and you kind of, the trick is though to kind of properly engage with and kind of make those fans who've come along to 1 or 2 games want to come to their 3rd and 4th, and want to repeat and come again. And we're going to do that by, sort of actually, we're transparent as a club. We want to be part of the community. We want people to be coming along and being entertained, and we'll continue to evolve and grow our match day experience. We'll continue to kind of invest in the team, play great football, kind of, hopefully have those sort of matches like the 1-0 against Sydney, and like the kind of like those moments where VARs get celebrated as loudly as a goal, and home derby wins, and like those things will happen. The people that are there are gonna cherish that and come back, and so yeah, I can't see any reason why we can't continue to do it. Everyone
strangely, my sorry, I was going to say my favourite game was actually the Newcastle Jets victory in the pouring rain. And looking around and still seeing this commitment from a bunch of people watching this team in the rain, I thought that was really special.
It's a really point. It was exactly what my next point was going to be, which was like everybody everybody keeps telling me that Auckland fans are real fair weather, fickle fans, and I reckon it's a disservice to the football fans who have been coming to our games, and certainly to the Port. Like, to that point, it absolutely pissed down all day, and everyone sung and just had a fantastic time. The other bit that I love is how certain members of the Port started tidying up the stand at the end of the game after themselves. It's a really nice touch. It's quite, I don't know whether it's intended or not, but it's a bit of a nod to our captain in terms of Hiroki, because it's a very kind of like Japanese respect and kind of piece that's happening too.
Yeah, definitely seeing the connection between the players and the fans at the end of the game is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so the season's gone incredibly well on the field as well, I guess, which has been pretty helpful to you guys.
Yep.
You couldn't have imagined at the start, six wins off the bounce. 10 games in, we're still right up there. Where to from here, Nick? Like, what's the mood around the camp? Are we really serious about getting into these playoffs and going all the way this year?
Absolutely. We're not here to make up the numbers. We want to win, and we want to win silverware, and if we did that in our first season, it'd be incredible. But if we don't do it in our first, we'll be working as hard as we can to do it in our second, and likewise and on. So what we are building here, and it's certainly kind of for years to come. And it won't be me sitting in the seat. There'll be somebody else and somebody else after that. This is a club that's here. We want to make ourselves sustainable. We want to build a pathway, and we want to have success for Auckland FC and for Aucklanders too. So choosing Corica as our head coach was. It was something we had a very robust process. We talked to a lot of potential head coaches, and he was miles ahead of anyone else. And one of the things that just kept resonating with him was his ambition, his passion. It's like, he wants to win. He's not like happy with sixth and scraping through to the finals. He wants to win, and that's what we all do, right? And Bill does as well. It comes from right at the top, and it's something that we're deadly focused on too.
Your Monday morning Zoom calls to Bill must have been quite easy though so far. All right, Bill, another win in the bank. Happy?
Yeah. No, Bill is really engaged. Like, he'll often ring me directly after the game. I'll always talk to him before the game, and we have a bit of a chat about who's playing, how the team's looking, a bit about the opposition, that type of thing. He'll pretty much watched every game except for I think the Perth one, where the time difference was on at about 3 o'clock in the morning for him or something like that. So that was the only one he really missed. But Bill, of course, is very happy, without a doubt, as are the wider ownership group as well. Anna and Ali are really happy, and sort of Tim Brown, who we speak to regularly, and that's all really positive. So and everyone involved has been around professional sport for long enough to know that you don't always win, and so kind of like what we need to focus in on is how we respond to for example matches like last week in Perth. We're expecting a big reaction and bounce back from the boys on Saturday, but how we creating a club that's built on sustainability and can continue to kind of just perform at the top, perform at an elite level. So Bill's really keen to although he's happy with the day-to-day and the results to date and the attendance that we're getting, he's also asking about what's next and how do we continue to evolve. And that's what I love about him. He does continue want to see this club. He's at no way sitting back and going, right, job done. It's like, good start. What are we doing next? And I love that about him.
Oh, just the start. Yeah, planning. Is there any sort of info or news you can give us about the potential move away from Mount Smart? Western Springs has been mentioned. Is there any truth in the rumour? Can you say much at this stage?
I can't really go into it in any detail other than, I guess the Question is, would we like to have our own stadium? Would we like to have our own high performance centre? 100%, yes. And would we look at any opportunity that was presented to us? And if it made sense, both kind of from a location, a timeline, and a financial piece, would definitely look at it and would definitely consider it, and would love to. I think it kind of goes back to our piece around youth development pathways. Actually creating a really successful and big club that's going to be here for a long time. Having our own stadium and high performance centre will be really important for that vision, right? So ask me that question in a few months' time and I can probably give you a more detailed answer.
Yeah, great. And the other thing of interest to some of the guys on our show is the academy. Work to get the young Kiwis coming through. Obviously, we've loved watching the likes of Liam Gillian this year. Are there kind of formal arrangements in place with the big clubs in New Zealand, or is it kind of like you sort of cherry pick the best ones? Or
No, not at all. This is actually something that we've worked really hard on and we're doing in partnership with local clubs across the northern region and also some of the bigger clubs in YBOP as well. So we'll obviously have our reserve team, which will play as an under-23 team in the northern and national leagues. That team will train and be based with us. Beyond that, any kind of like academy falls into what we're calling our development centre, and that's a partnership with 18 of the TDP clubs, so the Talent Development Pathway clubs, which is a sort of a partnership that they have with New Zealand Football. Those clubs within our area will have they've signed an MOU with us, and what that means is that we'll actually, in short, we'll provide resource training. We'll take select squads out of the collective clubs at age group level, and we'll either train with them at their clubs or we'll bring them to our training ground and they'll train with us, and that way we can identify talent, we can train talent, we can kind of work on their strength and conditioning, their nutrition. We can sort of train them as what we expect from a professional. They get to see the professional environment. They get to sort of learn a little bit by, I guess, osmosis, and then they go back and still play for their clubs in the weekend, which is really important for us because they get to come to us, help develop them as talent, and then they go back and they kind of hopefully are big positive advocates for us in their clubs, but they also get to play with their teammates and play at the weekend for their clubs. And we're not creating this sort of like, yeah, exactly. And we're not creating an us and them environment where the clubs are annoyed with us because we've cherry picked the best players and they stop coming to our games. It's more actually a kind of a true partnership. I think I might have lost you, Dale. You there, mate?
You still there, mate?
I've got you. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. I think we basically been pushing our luck with this link, so I might just end the recording. Hold on, just hang on the line a second. We'll